Hey, good evening. Welcome to this session in MATLAB in the cloud. Myself, Amit Doshi.
I'm Jayant.
We both are from application engineering team, and we focus on engineering AI. And we have been receiving various different questions on how can we use MATLAB on the cloud. So JB and I, so I'm going to call Jayant JB. That's what I call him. Um, we're going to focus on three key questions. The first one is I'm a MATLAB user, I'm a Simulink user, and I wish to take MATLAB. I want to take MATLAB, use it in the cloud, because that's where my data is sitting, right, JB?
Yeah, exactly.
So those are many questions which we're getting. Our fleet data is remaining there; it's sitting there. Our IoT data is getting streamed in the cloud. So why not we use MATLAB in the cloud, right? So that's number one. Second request is, hey, we know that our algorithms they really work, but just because not having enough compute, could be CPUs, GPUs, we are not able to get performance, right? So that's where users of MATLAB with, let's say, parallel computing, they wish to leverage better GPUs and clusters in the cloud. And the third one is the request is I wish to deploy algorithms models, digital twin models maybe, also in the cloud, which might can then get integrated with the streaming analytics. Anything which comes to your mind, JB?
Yeah, Amit, I believe that these are the same questions that even through the customer interactions, I believe that multiple customers are looking for these kind of solutions and
Absolutely.
looking for, yeah, that's
Absolutely. So what we're going to do today in this next 45-minute session is we are going to talk about what we have to offer in terms of cloud offering, right? Then we'll also show you how you can get started. We're going to show you the configuration as well. And towards the end, or today, throughout the process, we'll be also talking about AI workflow. I know that cloud can be used also for many other applications, but as we both focus on engineering AI, and JB, you come from a startup, right?
yeah, exactly,
So
Amit.
would be great to also hear your story when we
Sure.
talk about AI,
Yeah.
right?
That's-
So JB, now and to you, what we're going to do now is going to get into a role play. We both are from MathWorks, but for today's session, I'm going to put myself in customer shoes and ask those questions, and I'll request JB to answer those. Is that okay, JB?
Yeah, absolutely fine, Amit. Let's hit that.
All right, so let's get started, JB. How? I mean,
Mhm.
when we talk about cloud, right, and MathWorks, what do we have to offer?
That's an interesting question, Amit. So we offer a wide range of support. So for example, what you're seeing here is nothing but a software as a service, which is nothing but MathWorks host MATLAB on cloud in their own servers and provide you can able to log in with just with the credentials. This is the easiest form of cloud solution. What I mean by that is you can easily just by logging in, you can able to push your workflow to the cloud. So this is the first and foremost and easiest thing to take your workflow to the cloud.
So I don't need to
And
really worry too much about the infrastructure, what should this size, where to get how to install MATLAB on cloud. Nothing is needed.
nothing is needed, just a login credential and a valid MATLAB license is suffice.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and we also support a hosting provider platform. So what I mean by that is, you can able to run a specific configuration of MATLAB and parallel server on high performance infrastructures, which is offered by the third party providers, which is displayed over here. So you can offload your IT load to the third party infrastructure, and you can able to deploy MATLAB on cloud. So that is the second configuration we offer from MathWorks.
Okay. Okay.
And on this the third one, what we see here is that nothing but is an on-premise architecture. So what I mean by that is you have your own computing environment and you maintain an in-house IT team to maintain your cloud infrastructure. So even MATLAB can't run on those kind of infrastructure. And final and fourth bucket, what you see over here is a very interesting bucket where we keep on
I
hearing
was
from the
waiting.
customer.
I was waiting for those. Yes, Azure and
Yeah,
AWS. Yes.
yeah. So, running MATLAB on public clouds such as Azure or in Azure or AWS. So even we provide a flexibility to run MATLAB on public clouds such as Azure and AWS. We also have our presence in market offerings and cloud centers. Especially, I want to focus on the things which is highlighted over here, which is nothing but a reference architecture, which we'll be covering in detail. I would believe that a user can be able to get kickstart the cloud migration very easily.
Fantastic. So, I mean, on the extreme left, uh, if I understand correctly, not much IT support is required.
Yes, yes, exactly. Just login is needed.
Just login is required, and
Yes,
if you have MATLAB licensed already, you can just go ahead and use it. No additional
exactly.
cost.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. And an extreme right is where we're talking about public cloud. So what you're saying is that if you wish to use, or as an end user want to use it, I can do that, and we have something available which make it easy for me. But again, some
Exactly.
IT will be required. Is that what
That's
you're
true. That's
okay?
true. That's true. Yeah, exactly.
So shall we look at an example?
Definitely, Ahmed. Definitely. So the example what I'm going to show here is a case study about predicting a day-ahead load forecasting. So irrespective of this example, each user can think about their own application of migrating their application to cloud.
Yeah.
So what you're seeing here is that data is residing on the website or historical database or historians. So for developing a predictive or forecast model, you just pull this data inside a MATLAB IDE and develop a forecast model. It can be like any AI models.
Hmm.
Once you get a better forecast or once you're convinced with your forecasting capability, you can package them. Actually, you can debug them, then package them. Post that, you can push the analytic solution directly on the cloud with the help of a component called MATLAB production server. So that is what you are seeing here.
Okay. Okay.
So what you are going to see here is that a front-end dashboard, which is going to be a third-party dashboard or your own customized dashboard, which is going to place an API call to the deployed analytic solution on the MATLAB production server that holds the analytic platform. The challenge here is that getting the real-time data into the entire analytics platform and running those platforms seamlessly is a very interesting and tricky challenge where most of the customers face. Yeah,
So what you're saying here is that this is a deployed. So an algorithm has been developed in MATLAB. You
yeah.
started with some historical data,
Mhm.
and now this is running independent of MATLAB on cloud. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. So you
Okay.
packaging them independent of MATLAB, you're going to deploy it on the cloud with the help of a MATLAB production server.
Okay. Okay. And once it is deployed, it is also pulling real-time data from the either on the load or on the historical data. That's what it is doing. Correct?
Exactly, exactly. It pulling the real-time data and giving the real-time predictions.
As we're talking about AI, right? To you, what are the key stages? I mean, I know that this talk is cloud, but we also promised our audience today that we'll also talk about how cloud can help in your AI workflow. So, what is AI to you?
Yeah, AI, when you think about AI, we need to think about in a broader spectrum, not alone that AI model plays a crucial role in AI workflow. So whatever you see here is nothing but a complete end-to-end workflow of AI. So to make AI successful, all these buckets are closely tied and integrated with each other. For example, a proper data is required to make your proper AI model. Once your AI model is ready, before taking it to the deployment, you want to validate that model, especially
Yep.
when it comes you want to deploy it on your embedded system. It's going to be mission critical and something of that sort. You want to thoroughly validate that and make it error free, and then you want to take it to the deployment. This is a complete end-to-end workflow, and I believe that we can cover that over our talk, how all these buckets cloud can be plays a crucial role and how we easily doable with the help of MacBooks.
So your recommendation is that no, when we talk about AI, not to just look at AI modeling aspect, but also
Yeah.
look at AI as a whole. and think about also where it is going to really get deployed on the embedded side, enterprise, and then also think about the integration aspect of it.
That's true. That's true.
Very
Exactly.
interesting. I also see here simulation data generation.
Yes. Yes.
Perfect.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So let's get started then, right?
Sure. Sure.
Let's address the first request. I want to use MATLAB in the cloud.
Yeah. That's a
How?
very interesting cloud. That's a very interesting question, and I believe that everyone have this question in their mind, especially the MATLAB users. So they are running their infrastructure or they are running their MATLAB IDE on their cloud. If that is the case, we provide a flexible and very easiest solution to migrate your workflow to cloud. As I mentioned earlier, there is a configuration called reference architecture. So what it does is to give an idea about what is reference architecture, it's a complete package of template which covers MATLAB image and also like step-by-step instruction for you to how to run MATLAB on cloud. Not only that, MATLAB on cloud, we also talked about few things about deployment of solution to cloud. So it covers a complete set of instructions. So based on your choice, you can pick and choose your reference architecture. For example, in this particular talk, we'll be focusing more about MATLAB on Azure. So
Yeah.
irrespective of that, you can the same reference architecture we have it for AWS as well. So you can have a great look, and it helps you a lot of flexibility it provides. So what I mean by flexibility is that user can have a control like which VM they want to configure and which
Mm.
are those IPs they want to enable to do the global in global things and things like that. So that is a very interesting workflow. To
Yeah.
know more about this reference architecture, just this GitHub Mathox reference architecture page will help you a lot.
No, this is pretty interesting. For a layman who is getting started, let's say someone who is new to cloud,
Mhm.
what is really important to him or her to get started? What is required?
Um, Nothing else, just a reference architecture will does the job for them.
Okay,
So
all right. Can you show us an example?
sure, definitely. I can walk you through an example like how to run MATLAB on cloud, especially on Azure. So this is nothing but the reference architecture page, which gives you an idea like a different how to do the things. So for example, what you see here is that it's going to host MATLAB desktop on the VM, which is hosted on Azure.
Yeah.
To interact with them, just a remote desktoping or the remote connection, just it can able to enable that workflow. So what you're going to see here is that just you want to go and click that deploy stack button. So it does the job for you. That's like a magic.
So it's nothing but a template, right? A
Yes, yes.
pre-configured temp. Okay, sure.
Yeah. To use this, you need three entities. One is MathWorks account, MathWorks license, and Azure account to get started with.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Yes. So, from the cost point of view, if I have my license, MATLAB license,
Mhm.
uh, do I need to pay anything extra to MathWorks
Nothing,
to
no,
use
no
it on?
extra payment. Yeah, that from MathWorks side, you can run the same installation on your desktop, and the same license can you can migrate it to your public cloud infrastructure. The license is
So we're
same.
we're just paying. I have to just pay to the Azure to use their
Yeah,
hardware. Correct?
exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is the template which I was talking about. It directly leads you to the Azure configuration page, and you can configure the VM whichever is suitable for your workflow, and you can give your IPs and user credentials. Once
Hmm.
that is done, just hitting the purchase button will able to build your MATLAB image that is readily available for you on the cloud.
Okay. So what you're saying is, I could just start with whatever I have, what
Exactly.
the default settings. But
Mhm.
if I let's say for example I want to use GPU, then various different VM sizes will be available.
Exactly. That's a configuration that Azure provides to you. So
Sure.
you can able to configure based on your load and requirement.
Okay. Can you tell us your username and password?
I can do that. Sure.
All right, sure. So no, I understand. Okay, so this is something which is important, right? Which you will need towards the end afterwards.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So just I'm going to hit purchase post the agreement agreeing the conditions. And it's like a matter of 10 to 15 minutes you can able to deploy MATLAB IDE, in the sense that you can able to run MATLAB IDE on cloud.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
So
wow.
that's it. Deployment is
Deployment
succeed.
successful. Okay.
Yeah. You can able to get the remote login IPs, which you can use it on the remote desktop app or client, by which you can able to log in by the credential you mentioned over here, and you can able to connect to the Azure instance where MATLAB is already it's installed.
So we do have. I mean, MATLAB has each year we have two releases of MATLAB.
Yeah.
Do I get a choice to pick one?
Sure, that's a very interesting question. I would say because, like as you said, Mathox releases two products every year, two versions every year. So as like the recent release configuration, right? What I mean by that is the recent release reference architecture is available for you along with the older releases too. So if a
Okay.
user is focused on 2018 version, which is like 2 years before it got released, if they want to
Wow.
use, they are free to use. Yeah, that's the image what you're going to see. Like just logged in, you can find MATLAB is installed over the VM which you configured. And now you
So
want to
within
give the
15
yeah,
minutes, within 15 minutes, I have MATLAB on cloud.
exactly. Just you
That's
want to
beautiful.
give your Mathox credentials, and the licensing manager will pop up.
Absolutely.
That's it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So does it have any limitations? I mean, the experience what I get on a designed machine, my laptop, right? Do I see any difference there? Any limitations?
There is absolutely no limitation.
No
It's like
limitations.
one and the same image you are going to run.
Perfect.
Yeah.
This is great. And I see I'm also getting tempted to ask the question. Here I see Ubuntu.
Mhm.
So is there any limitation on operating systems?
Absolutely not, I would say. So we run on both the operating systems. We support Windows and Linux-based operating systems. You can able to configure that while selecting the configuration in like in Azure instance or AWS instance per se.
This is awesome. This is beautiful. 15 minutes and then we
Yeah,
are using MATLAB on cloud.
yeah.
Great. But three things what you said: MathWorks license,
Mm-hmm. Methods account,
MathWorks account, and
Azure
Azure
account.
or
Yeah,
AWS. I mean
yeah,
anything.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and we also have our place in our market offerings, which I mean by that in Azure Marketplace, you can able to search for MATLAB and you can find these solutions, and you can able to go ahead and run this any of the instances based on your requirement. So I will cover in our upcoming talk about like what is the fundamental difference between
Yeah.
the reference architecture and marketplace. That makes sense for most of the
I
audience.
I'm curious. I want to understand because you're talking here about marketplace and then we also have reference architecture. What's the difference?
Sure, exactly. I will talk in a matter of time. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, exactly over here. So what I mean by that is you can able to see over here in the left side chart, which gives an idea of when you want to choose reference architecture. For example, if you want to customize a lot, what I mean by that, we provide a flexibility for the users to customize those deployed solution or running MATLAB on cloud. Then that is a task with minimal IT requirement. You can able to use the cloud reference architecture and you can spin up the MATLAB on Azure or AWS per se. And if you have an existing workload and you know that what is the workload and what is the thing you have, just you want to push the load directly to the cloud, just you're migrating from desktop to the cloud, then you
Mm-hmm.
can go ahead and use Azure Marketplace, especially on the bring your own license. So what I mean by
Okay.
that is the same license over here, you can just use it while using that marketplace content.
Okay.
And we also have offering in pay-as-you-go terms. If you have like long-term trials or bursty loads, for instance, in Diwali, it's a festival season, right? For example, like a customer want to spin up their instance due to the load that is going to be placed on their site or something like that, that MATLAB plays a crucial role, then they can go ahead and use this pay-as-you-go term, which is also available in the marketplace.
Or like we had a recent online sell. Okay.
Say, yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Okay, interesting. This is pretty interesting. Thanks a lot. This also clears the difference between reference architecture and marketplace.
Sure.
All right. No, this is interesting. So for the AI workflow, which you talked about, data preparation, AI modeling. How is, I mean, once you have MATLAB running either on your machine, local machine, or on the cloud, what solution do we have?
I would say that we have complete solution for all the buckets which we discussed before, like 4 buckets of complete end-to-end AI workflow. So starting from the data preparation all the way to deployment, MathWorks has exhaustive support in especially with the cloud platforms.
Hmm.
So what you see here is comes as part of a data preparation bucket. You want to access the data, right?
Yes, that's the first
So
step.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So as you mentioned that example of fleet data is residing on S3 bucket or like blob storage, how to
Yeah.
pull the data into MATLAB IDE? That's a very interesting question. So what you see here is the program that to pull the data from your local disk, and we have a data store. A very interesting pointer to discuss. It points to the data, and you can easily pull the data and create a pointer for the entire data, whatever you're trying to do. It can be big
Okay.
data, small data of the similar type. So to pull the data here, you just want to use the data store and specify the location. When we want to run, yeah,
So yeah, I mean, this is interesting. What you're saying is that it doesn't really matter what kind of data. I see here you're talking about image data store.
yeah,
So are there different types of data stores?
absolutely. So we have a tabular data store, like ensemble data store based on the file type, what you're going to use. We optimize the data store. What I mean by that
Hmm.
is we optimize the workflow for the type of file you have to handle the big data, to overcome the memory overflow errors, and make a single point of contact to the data. So that's what the data store plays a crucial role.
Okay. So let's say if I have data which on my laptop, I and typically we start like this, right? Start small. Take a
Mhm.
sample amount of data, play with the data, and then you want to see how the model is working on a larger amount of data.
That's
So
true.
how do I access that huge data, either from S3 or let's say blob storage?
That's a very interesting question. Just by specifying the environmental variables or the credentials for those buckets or those storage, you can pull the data. So whatever you see here is we are setting the environmental variables for the accessing the AWS S3 bucket. So you can just those are the very minimal change
Wow.
in the code. Post that the remaining rest of your code, there is a huge set of analytics that is going to become below this code post accessing the data. Just a few lines or minimal change of the code, you can migrate seamlessly from desktop to cloud.
So by changing 3 lines or adding 3 lines, you change
Yeah,
the
yeah,
source. Wow. Okay.
exactly. It applies to even for Hadoop and kind of like other big data
Hadoop, yes.
platforms.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
unstructured data. Wow. So
exactly.
what we're talking here is that once your MATLAB is set up on cloud, to access data, which is the first step in AI modeling, is pretty easy. And then
Yes.
it doesn't really matter how big the data is. Data store does the job,
Yeah,
pointing MATLAB to that location.
exactly. And one more very interesting point is that, for example, you may be experiencing these kind of data in your workflow. As Amit was so interested about S3 bucket, I hear it from a couple of times. So there are other data stores like based on your workflow, whether it is a hot storage or cold storage. The people may be using different types of data services like Blob, Athena,
Yeah.
different storages. We provide flexible connectors to bring those data from those data sources or data services directly inside MATLAB. Again, this is available in the form of reference architecture. So just a click of button, you can able to configure this connector and you can pull the data from different data sources.
So what I mean, what I'm getting is that uh, you guys have written APIs or connectors to talk
Mhm.
to the external world. Let it be, getting on cloud or connecting with different types of file formats,
Yeah,
right? This is pretty interesting.
that's true.
Yeah. Okay. So once the data access is done, the next
Mhm.
one is data preparation.
Yeah.
And you know this, I also know it. I know that I'm playing this role of customer, but this is huge, right? Data preparation. Everyone says we have experienced this. 60%, 70% time is really spent in data preparation. You have data coming from various different plants, various different assets. Sometimes data is really nasty data. Loggers have failed. So many problems, right?
That's really true.
Um, Very recently, one of the apparel manufacturing company, they wanted to detect stains,
Mhm.
defects, and their data was in form of video feeds. So
Exactly.
again, there the challenge is knowing the ground truth, the golden reference. So
That's true.
labeling is again a time-consuming task.
That's
And
true.
third, which we are seeing, and you would agree, the third which we're seeing is not having enough data, failure data.
That's
I mean,
true.
we want our AI algorithms to be ready for predicting any kind of fault, but we have not taught how the failure looks like. So synthetic data
Yeah.
generation. Shall we
Yeah.
talk a bit about that?
Sure, definitely, Ahmed. Definitely. As you said, this is the most critical bucket in AI workflow. So it's like a tedious process, I would say. It's not so easy to bypass this bucket. So if this bucket is not proper, then entire AI modeling or the entire workflow fails. So that is the reason, like actual real scenario, most of the time the people spend a lot of time in this bucket, as you mentioned, like 60 to 70% of their time.
Yeah.
Then yeah, it's like you can think about why the data is so important to make AI models successful.
You
So
you also come from, Jimmy, sorry. So you also come from, you were running a startup.
yeah.
What's your experience, and how was it to you?
Yeah, it's a kind of, I would say that it's unimaginably hard to bypass this bucket or do these buckets, right? So we
Yeah.
write n number of lines of code or trying for n number of packages to clean the data, and it's like a quite cumbersome process, I would say. There is no single unique platform to do this job. So which made my life a little tricky, I would say, during that period. Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm going to show here is nothing but to overcome the difficulty of the pre-processing, especially the most critical thing which we discussed now. We have an interactive app as part of MATLAB, so by which you can able to clean your data very effectively and with very minimal effort. So what I mean
Yeah.
by that is just with interactions you can able to prepare your data, I would say. So very minimal programming knowledge is required, and also that you don't want to worry about what are the different pre-processing techniques that is available out of market, whether it's a statistical technique or things like that sort. It's directly available for you just with interaction, clicking over a few icons and selecting the options from the drop-down buttons. You can able to configure, or we can able to pre-process the data which is available with you. So what you see here is that we are selecting filling the outliers just with linear interpolation, and there are a number of options available to you by which just by interaction you can able to get the data, get the proper data out of it.
I mean, I
Yeah,
totally understand. I mean, this is something which is I have tears, I've been laughing. Yes. So no, this is easy because in many times what happens is that we get too much while doing the tasks, writing programs. Many times we get deviated from the actual task,
yeah,
and these look really cool, right?
that's
So
true.
it's
That's
pretty
true.
interactive, and then here the buttons are also prompting me that okay, for cleaning the outlier data, do not
Yeah,
just go with what you know, right? Linear interpolation,
yeah,
and you have other methods available.
that's true. Actually,
Pretty
I like
neat.
the point what you said. Rather than focusing on cleaning the data, people will get into the loop of syntax fixing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's true. That's true. Even I did that in past. Yeah,
Sure. So, okay, labeling was, I mean, of course, there are many challenges,
that's
and people who are watching don't see that. No, these are the only challenges, but these are common challenges. What we think.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
ground truth labeling. What do you have to say?
Sure, yeah, that's an interesting topic. Like as I mentioned, we get the raw data in form of like images or videos, but definitely the interesting thing is that we don't have the target labels, right? So people, I have done personally. So what I did is like I will load the image in a platform manually. I will draw the bounding boxes for each and every platform. Then like if I have 1,000 image or 10,000 image, even the lakhs of image, I have to draw it manually. So it's a very tedious process. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a very and also like a very untidy work, I would say. Like, it's not our primary job to do this kind of job. So to make our life easy, I would say that there is a labeler app. Even if you have image data or video data or even the signal data for say like audio labeler or signal labeler, and even we have lidar labeler. If you have autonomous driving system data toolbox, you can able to use that lidar labeler. So by
It's
which you can
everywhere. Yeah.
by which you can just label few samples. It's kind of a bootstrapping technique, and you can automate the entire process. It's like automation framework is available for you. You can even imagine that labeling 10,000 frames to
Oh
labeling
yes.
2 or 3 frames.
So what you just showed us here is first you taught, if I
Mhm.
have to say that, for lack of better words, you first taught the app detect objects and then it automated it. Is that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just automating the entire process, I would say. Yeah.
Yes. No, that was interesting. Data preparation. The second one
Yeah. Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
data preparation bucket is okay. And we both have broken our heads right now. It's not running. It's running very slow when it is when you're training your deep learning models. Just because you have limited limited hardware, it's just going very slow. So yes,
That's true.
what solution do we have here? How,
Yeah.
I mean, if I have a machine, if I have a MATLAB machine, a quad core machine, how can I easily scale up to a cloud and use resources there?
Sure. I would like to bring a point. The video or the simulation, whatever I'm showing here, is nothing but a Van der Pol equation simulation. If you're coming from a mechanical or automobile background, you can able to understand this equation. But it's just to give an idea, it's a compute intense equation, so which comprises of n number of parallel steps to complete. So what I'm showing here is that in the over the left corner, which is running the same program is running on the desktop environment where you have a limited hardware capability. It can be think about like I just shown a 20 worker, but physically in your laptop you will have 4 core
Oh
mission
yes.
or 6 core mission. And over the right corner, what I'm showing here is that same code without changing any additional programming. It is running on a cluster computing mode where you have a cluster computing residing right next in your office or residing in your public cloud. You can able to pull that information and you pull that resource and you can able to run that. And what below you are showing here is that a complete hardware cluster, which is a high performance cluster, which may be residing on your AWS or Azure. With the huge compute resource, whatever you see here is a 1,000 worker, 1,000 core
Yes.
mission that is available for you. The same core you utilizes the capability of those many workers and it's accelerating those many times. So you can just imagine this,
That's
how
a
it is
beautiful
fast.
thing about cloud, right? You don't have
Yeah,
to, invest in that hardware. I mean, if you're a startup or any company
yeah,
investing such a huge hardware, it's a lot of, I mean, everyone knows there's a lot of
that's
process we
true.
have to go through,
That's
and with
true.
cloud we can just borrow it. So Jen, how can we get started here?
That's a very interesting thing. I will pull a question to you since you said that you are from a mechatronics engineer.
Yes.
So how it is difficult for you to get the failure data? So I know that it will be a little hurting for you, but I would like to get the answer
Yeah,
from you.
seeing this broken broken blade, it really hurts. So yes, I can talk about challenges, and I'll request you to give a solution. So yes, I know the challenge here, and this is what the industry is also facing. That these are costly, unplanned, downtimes, right? These are failures which we don't want to see as engineers. These are expensive failures as well. These are life-threatening failures as well,
That's
right? So what companies are trying to do is, they're trying to predict such failures. But again, the problem comes is that, how do I predict? How can the model predict before we teach the model, what failure
yeah,
looks like? So that's where the application of AI, which is predictive maintenance, comes in the picture. So I know for sure what customers are doing is, or companies are doing is representing those models. And this is again close to my heart, mechatronics, right? So representing that physical asset, in this case wind turbine, in terms of simulation, right, blocks, and then feed that with healthy operational data, because that I will have. My engineers will be taking care of scheduled maintenance, so I will have that data. Feed that data, make sure that this is working as if it's a real machine. If people have not heard, the JB, the term digital twin, right? So we can create a digital twin out of it. Now it's very easy for me to see this in less than 20 seconds to create, but it takes expertise, domain knowledge to come up with such a simulation. And then, with the knowledge of my failures, I can inject failures and generate data. So, in short, I'll be building a model. I'll be, fine tuning the model with available data, injecting the failures, and that's where I need cloud. That's where I need number of workers, because I want to run not just one, not two, hundred, thousands of simulations with various different conditions.
Sure. Wow, that's a
And
very interesting thing, I would say.
yes, so show us, how shall we get started?
Sure, definitely, Amit. So the same workflow, whatever you've seen here, whether it's a simulation model you have in form of a Simulink model, just very easily, what you can do is that just you can configure the clusters. So what I mean by that is, if you have the huge compute resource that is available for you in form of AWS or Azure, just you can able to configure the cluster profile. What I mean by that is you can able to pull those information to the hardware and you can able to accelerate your workflow. So what is highlighted over here is nothing but if you have a multi-core machine in your local system, and to use those cores effectively for your simulation, you can able to do that as well. So it's just a configuration is required, zero programming changes required,
Yeah.
and you don't want to worry about how the behind the scenes what is happening, but you'll get the things done faster for you.
So what you're saying is that once the configuration is done, it's just a button click.
Yes,
Instead of running it on local machine, it will directly run on the cluster,
exactly.
right?
That's true. That's true.
Beautiful. So if I have to go to, let's say, AWS or Azure, what's the solution there?
Yeah. Again, I would recommend you to go ahead with the reference architecture.
Uh,
Even for this kind of parallel computing and multi-core clustering capability, we have a beautiful reference architecture that is available as part of GitHub page, by which simple configuration again does the job for you. You just need a MATLAB client. You want to interact with those huge cluster. You can directly configure those cluster, and you can pull those hardware resources available for you to do the computations. Whether it can be multi-core mission, and since you brought a topic of deep learning and things like that, which we'll cover in a fraction of a minute, GPU plays a crucial role, and people will definitely think about those kind of uses. So this is a typical use case for using the parallel server architecture or the multi-core capable architecture, I would say.
Sure. So on the client machine, I need MATLAB and parallel computing toolbox.
Mhm.
And on the cloud, which product?
So we put a MATLAB parallel server over there, and you can able to configure those resources directly inside MATLAB, and you can pull those information to accelerate your computes. Yeah,
Fantastic. Sure. So, and again, the video would be available for this, so
yeah,
folks can refer it later on, right?
that's true. That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. GPU. I was curious about this.
So this is a very interesting workflow. You know that deep learning is very compute intense. So there are a
Yes.
lot of matrix operation to be performed. Whether you are dealing with a CNN based workflow or LSTM based workflow, there will be n number of computation. And when you try to do that in a laptop which doesn't have GPU, or even it doesn't have GPU, like it tries to utilize the multi-core, but it will take ages to converge,
Yeah.
right? So I believe that if you have enough time, at least like a couple of months to do a simple modeling, then you can depend upon a laptop, which no one expects. Everyone is hitting their clock and
Right.
running behind the time. So we also provide an offering in form of a pre-configured Docker container. So what I mean by that is a Docker container with relevant toolbox for doing the AI models, right? Deep learning or statistical or machine learning models. It's available in a form of a Docker container inside the NVIDIA container catalog, by which just doing the SSH or the Docker pull, which means that you're just instantiating those Dockers, and you can able to offload those resources to those Dockers, and you can get the results much more faster way.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Okay. Um,
Yeah,
what
this
are you
is like,
showing us here?
yeah, that's a very interesting topic. So just I have shown to run a deep learning model on or a machine learning model on cloud, but there may be cases that people want to create a deep learning model or
Yes.
architecture, right? So even for that, you don't want to be a programmer or you don't want to do some syntax fixing. We have a
Yeah.
beautiful app called Deep Network Designer. The link is provided here. What it does is interactively you can able to create a network just by pulling those required layers whichever suitable for you. You can able to create a deep networks and you can able to feed the data directly in the app itself, and you can able to perform training in the app itself. So what I mean by that is if you have a image classification or things like of that kind of application, you can configure this, pull the data, train the network in the same app itself, by which you are not doing any program, just you're interactively doing the network or training the network. Once you get the satisfied result, you can take it to the next step of production. For machine learning, we also provide a framework for kind of learner apps. It can be a classification task or regression task. What I'm showing here is nothing but a regression learner, but we also support a classification learner, which does a lot of beautiful job like AutoML and things of that sort. You just want to feed the data inside this network, and you can ask MATLAB to run n number of models, and it can throw you a best suitable model for a particular data which you pushed inside this app. Is that
Wow.
interesting,
Wow.
Amit?
No, this is pretty interesting. So again, it goes back to also what you're talking about, pre-processing, right? There as
Yeah.
well, you have live tasks. So here as well, someone who is getting started, all these apps make the life easy.
Yes.
And this is again interesting. I mean, all these years I was thinking, it's a black box, but now you have wide open the box, and now we see what's really happening inside.
Yeah. Yeah. And one more thing, since you brought the topic of black box, there is a beautiful support of explainable AI inside MATLAB or MathWorks. Definitely, I would recommend the audience to Google it, like, for example, the explainable AI with MATLAB or MathWorks.
we
So
should
that's
we should we should
beautiful.
think of doing another
Sure.
YouTube live just on AI, right?
That's definitely, yeah.
Let's go back to cloud again. My
Mhm.
third important question, or request, what we get from our customers, that I have developed, let's say, a model. I have developed um, an algorithm, and I want to deploy it as you know as a streaming analytics. I want to integrate that algorithm so that it can directly perform tasks such as estimating remaining useful life, right, or classifying it. Doesn't really matter where the data is coming from.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
How to get started?
So actually, that is a very interesting topic, I would say. So no one wants just to simulate
Oh
or
yes.
model AI, then throw it away. Just to they want to show a simulation or kind of a toy project. And at the end of the day, they want to deploy it somewhere,
Yeah.
right? And they want to give an analytics solution. So to
Operationalize it.
yeah, they want to operationalize the model. It's not
Yeah.
a toy model just for simulation, right? So definitely we have a support for this particular bucket as well. So again, sorry for reiterating on the same topic of like both marketplace and reference architecture. We also have a huge offering for like deploying your AI models, which is nothing but a MATLAB production server. So I briefly talked about previously, but what it does is MATLAB production server can able to host your MATLAB algorithm. So it's kind of a service API you can place on top of this hosted algorithm, and you can able to get the insights out of it. It can be a streaming analytics or just kind of some simple use cases also. But definitely there are multiple use cases. One such thing that's striking in my mind is one of our customers implemented this workflow to automate their learning management system. The entire learning management system is residing on production server, and the end user can just with a mobile app they can able to place an API call, and they can able to get the suitable course material for them. It's a very interesting
Wow.
workflow.
Yeah, that's again another benefit of, we are not here to talk about all the benefits. Everyone knows, why cloud. But when the service is running on cloud, I don't have to too much, worry about what's the compute available on
That's
my
true.
device, right? Where I
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Really true. Yeah, all these load balancing activities will be taken care with the help of MATLAB production server. It handles the APIs more effectively than anything else, I would say.
So multiple concurrent
Yeah,
requests. I mean,
yeah,
the example what you gave,
yeah.
that was a good example, that learning management system. So if 10 people want to use the same, or 100 people want to use simultaneously, will that be
That's true. That's very interestingly, this load balancer will take care. And also top of that, this production deployment can be also clubbed with the compute engine, like a parallel
oh,
server. So it can, a production server can go in hand with a
wow.
parallel server too. So which makes life more easy if you have the intense computation to be serviced in a single API request or things like that.
Do you help customers to, if they have these compute intensive problems?
That's
Uh,
absolutely true. We are here to help the customers.
Sure, yeah. So I guess I mean what you're showing here, yeah. I mean we want to see how
Yes.
do you get started if you have an algorithm.
Mhm.
How do you really go about it, right?
That's
As an
true. Yeah.
engineer, I'd be interested. I know MATLAB, I know how to write a script, but what really happens
Yeah,
post
that's an
that?
interesting thing. Just you need a MATLAB code, post this, you can able to go ahead and hit the production server compiler. So what it does is it creates a cloud executables for you. It's a very interesting workflow, which also understand the prerequisite of your algorithms. And the things, whatever you see here is a prerequisite. And once all these things is available with you, can go ahead and hit package, by
Hmm.
which you can able to create a cloud binaries or a cloud executable. For a better understanding, I would say you're just packaging your algorithm in form of an executable which can run it on cloud.
Hmm.
So you can see over here, you can the CTF is nothing but a cloud executable, that is a compile target format. Just you want to copy that from the generated location, and you can go ahead and use the production server dashboard, which is residing in this case, particular case, it is residing on Azure. You can able to upload that as an application very easily just by clicking an upload button. So
Okay, okay.
yeah.
So just I mean, we just moved too fast here. So what you're saying is that the MPS gives you a dashboard. So
Yes,
the first
yes.
step is that use production server. So you'd
Mhm,
need a compiler, right?
mhm. Yeah.
We are creating a binary. It will
Mhm.
take care of all the dependencies.
Yes.
Once the binary is created, what was the next step?
So once a binary is created, just go ahead and we place the URL of your dashboard. That is a production server dashboard. That is the thing, whatever
Okay.
you see here. And
Mm-hmm.
post giving your credentials, you can upload the application, which is nothing but the binary which you generated in the previous step. Just by
Okay.
click of,
Okay.
yeah,
And now
just
we see that here. Okay.
exactly.
All right.
And
Yeah, I mean, I know you might have guessed my next question. This is interesting because now I see things really, the algorithm which I have developed is getting really used for something good, right? So how do I connect once it is here? And
mhm,
let's say you have a website which is really working. How
yeah,
what's the link there?
that's a beautiful question, I would say. We just deployed over that. How to interact with that particular deployed algorithm is a very interesting question. So as part of this particular MPS or MATLAB production server, so we provide an endpoint to the application which you uploaded or which you have deployed in the cloud. So
Okay.
using those endpoints, you can able to interact with that endpoint and you can able to place an API call.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. 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 So the process remains same, right? I mean, if you're talking to Kafka or I hear
That's
Kafka. What is that, and how does, I mean,
Yeah, the
can
Kafka is a very interesting thing, I would say. It's kind of a streaming analytics platform which can able to handle the real-time hot storage data coming to the your any of the cloud deployed solution. Even for that, we provide a beautiful support of Kafka integration with MATLAB production server.
wow,
So you can able to stream this analytics streaming data into MATLAB production server where your application is residing, and you can able to get the insights for the streaming analytics as well.
interesting. A lot of connectors, APIs have been added.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So this is
Yeah.
how one of the example which we shown previously. The app is interacting over here and getting the insights directly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Help us summarize this, JB.
So this is a huge set of list. Whatever you're seeing here, whether you are thinking software as a service, which means that you just need a login credentials to run MATLAB on cloud, which is something but a MATLAB online we support, which we discussed earlier. And if you want to look into platform as a service, right? In those cases, you can depend upon Cloud Center or Marketplace based on the public cloud offerings you are choosing. and you can go ahead and hit those things, and you can able to do the job for you. And top of that, if you have a infrastructure as a service or a public cloud you are targeting, we provide a reference architecture as well as a separate from the marketplace or cloud center, which I talked more, I believe. You can
Yeah.
able to use those reference architecture, and you can also have a flexibility to run those compute engines or run those deployed versions, or per se you if you want to run the complete MATLAB IDE, you can able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, today's focus was this particular window. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Sure. Yeah.
So Amit, what do you think? How we want to discuss about the entire workflow what you have discussed
This
along
was
with
this
the
was
cloud
pretty
offerings?
interesting. I'm going to switch back my role, and now I'm going to come back to MathWorks. So yes, when it comes to cloud, MATLAB in the cloud, it doesn't really matter, right? When it's a data preparation, you want to take MATLAB algorithms, you want to take MATLAB itself close to the data. Of course, we shown you today various different ways. Reference architecture really makes it easy, right?
Yeah,
We talked about accessing data just by changing three lines of code from S3 bucket, the example we showed with image
yeah,
data. Or we also talked about three challenges we looked at: data preparations, or pre-processing, labeling, or synthetic data generation, right? So we also then talked about the parallel server, and when I want to accelerate, if when I feel that the hardware which I have available is really not that great, then I can easily scale up to a cloud. I can use CPUs, GPUs,
hmm,
and the
yeah,
last one was which we spent time towards the end was Kafka. If I want to deploy my algorithms which we have created, and provide Microsoft APIs, and then a production server really comes in the picture.
that's true.
This was pretty interesting. I hope that folks who joined us today, they found this overview session insightful, and we'll be posting the links. You will also find the links to these documentation in the description. Let us know your feedback. If you have MATLAB and just you want to use MATLAB, on using MathWorks Cloud, then you can just start using it. We today focused just on public clouds, and to me, JB, a reference architecture was the magic, right? That's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
highlight. It's really simplifying the life. As an engineer, that's how I look at it, and
that's
doesn't
true.
really then matter, whatever your cloud environment,
Right,
MATLAB can work and scale. Last
exactly.
but not the least, we are here to help you. If you have just started cloud journey, or you're in the in you have already taken, you are already in the journey, so we'll help you. If you are stuck anywhere, if you need any licenses, any support, happy to help. These are a few links. JB, any final words?
Yeah, mate, I'm happy that pretty much you covered that great recap and summary as well. That's a very interesting point, I would say. So we are here, myself, Amit, and Amit, we both belong to India offices, but irrespective of, we have widespread geographical
Yeah.
location. We have multiple offices across globe. Wherever you are, please reach out to us, and definitely we'll help you out with a suitable solution for your workflow.
Fantastic. Sorry, and while playing the role of a customer, if I ask very questions.
That's very interesting to do. Yeah,
Yeah,
Amit.
I loved it. Thank you,
Yeah,
JV.
same to you.
Thank you. Do
Yeah.
we have any questions?
Let me look into chat.
Yeah.
Uh,
Do you see any questions, JB?
yeah, I'm
I'll
just
have a
looking
sip
into
of
the
water.
chat. Sure.
Okay. One question: will we be able to use MATLAB with Firebase?
Mhm.
Is um, don't know if you have the answer now.
Yeah. Uh, doing that.
Do we know who's asking the question? Perhaps they can drop us an email and we can get in touch with them.
Sure, definitely. I believe that Firebase is for a kind of a mobile app deployment or something like that. Sure, we have a dedicated support. Definitely, we can reach out to them with the answers, specific answers.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions. So sorry, there's a bit of delay. We're getting questions. So will source code be accessible? Mayur, you understand which source code you're talking about? Okay, there are questions. Can we use MATLAB without license? Answer is that's easy. Let's know. But I mean, drop us an email if you're a startup, if you're getting started, if you're a student. And there are various different ways how we can get you started quickly. So of course, licensed product gives you a lot more benefits. You have robust documentation. You have people to help you out, right? It's like using a branded phone and a cheap phone, right? So
And also, I believe that the effort you spend on doing these difficult jobs doesn't matter with the licensing cost. It's a bare minimum, I would say.
yeah, JB, yes. I mean, I know that we talked a bit about it. You're using some you're
That's yeah.
using open source.
Yeah, I don't want to like counterfeit or do something against other
Yeah.
platforms, but definitely we go in hand with all other open source softwares as well. But very interesting point is that it provides what have we shown the entire rely on a single platform where with a minimal effort you can able to complete the entire job. On top of that, you can have a time to market. You can easily able to resolve the time to market problem with MATLAB. So that is my personal experience from my previous startup which I was running. So we will be keep on hitting the time like our project completion time and things like that. A lot of syntax fixing comes, code management comes, a lot of things will comes into play. But once we started spending time on MATLAB, then it makes our life easy. It's a complete organized framework, I would say, so which makes your life very very easy and do the jobs at ease.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple of other questions. Let's look at those. Yeah, how these workflows can be used in connected vehicles applications. That's a wonderful question. JB, I'll try and maybe if you want to add anything. So we also briefly talked about it. So in connected vehicle, if there is a center point which is collecting data, keeping track which vehicle is so there are two phases which we also talked about. The first would be prototyping phase, and then second would be you'd be productionizing it, right? In today's talk, we did not cover too much about you can take this code and put it directly on your ECU, right? Directly on board. So there's a possibility, depending on application, what that AI model is doing, you can take a call. And I believe that this particular approach where either on hardware or on cloud might help in connected cars. Do you have any other I mean, you want to add anything, JB, on that?
You covered pretty much, Amit. Like based on the application, as you mentioned, whether the algorithm want to run on ECU or cloud, that makes sense. That makes a perfect sense for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are a few questions, Mayur. We need to understand a bit about the processing of MathWorks rendering is going to be MathWorks cloud subscription based. So if I how I understand that question is what's the license requirement, right? Um, if you want to use, and of course we can talk more in detail, Mayur, reach out to us, but to me, if you have a MATLAB license, you can directly go ahead and use it on the cloud. um, uh, so JB, you want to talk comment on pay as you go?
Sure, Amit. That's a very interesting topic. Like pay as you go. Like if you have based on some kind of a bursty load, which I was mentioning earlier as well. So a typical example, what I chosen is the festival season where the people will be looking at their online site or things like that. If that is kind of a bursty load you are looking into it, we can able to we support them. On top of that, you can able to pull the resource whenever it is required, and you can spin out the instances so that you can able to save the money. That is a very interesting workflow, like pay as you go.
Perfect. All right. I guess that's it. Perhaps if folks have other questions, uh, uh, as I said, do reach out to us. Let us know what's your feedback, and we are very much happy to understand your use case and help you in your cloud journey. Thanks a lot. Thanks for tuning
Thank,
in.
yeah, thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks.
Bye. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.